Hey, if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time at all, you're going to know that I'm a bow hunter first and an archer second. That's why when my friends get a hold of me and say, I want to pick up a stick bow, or I get messages on social media, I always tell them the same thing. Don't ask me. I'm not the guy to ask. You need a coach. Well, not everybody has a coach available, right? You might not even have a local club where you can go and rub elbows and get tips from folks. But enter our friends over at The Push. Now, Matt and Tim have put together what they call the PAC, the Push Archery Center of Knowledge. What that is online courses to help you, whether you're brand new or you've been doing it for 35 years like me. There's something for everyone. Now I partake in Tom Clum's Solid Archery Mechanics, but they also have Roots by Rod Jenkins and Jimmy Blackman and Joel Turner's Controlled Process Shooting. Now, when you get one of these courses, you got it for life. They continually add content. You go on there, there's different modules to help you work on whatever you need, but there's also a forum that you jump on there and you can chat with other students, but also the coach themselves. So talk about having a coach at the tip of your fingers. The PAC has got it. So if you're interested in getting started or interested in getting better, run on over to www.thepusharchery.com/PAC. You're not going to be sorry, but you better get after it because season's coming soon. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Stickbow Chronicles, brought to you by Black Widow Bows. I was going to say welcome to another week, but you're on your own there. Hey, I just finished recording an awesome episode. You know, lots of times I say, you know, this is my favorite, but man, this one ranks right up there. It's just meeting bow hunters and standing around a campfire and shooting the breeze, just like Scott Kelzer a few weeks ago. This one, same deal, just kind of took right off, had a blast. Bryce, Olson, guy hasn't been, you know, in the grand scheme of things, hasn't been in the bow that long. He's been, 2007, so, 14 years, something like that. But, wow, the guy has accomplished a ton. And he's a good storyteller. So I think you are all going to like this one. And I promise you that, the products he talks about during this episode was not planned. It sounds like it's we get to, a bow to shoot with broadheads. And I'm telling you, it wasn't planned. Matter of fact, he uses a Kuiu pack. We'll get him squared away and get him into a Kifaru here soon. But other than he's not wearing a Kifaru pack and he doesn't drink coffee, so he's not drinking Backwoods grind, it's all legit. Super fun episode. I think you guys are going to love it. I Hunt Close Trad Kill 2021. Keep sending them in. We got a pile of them. I'm falling behind getting them posted. But any kills from January 1st of 2021 to December 1st of 2021, get them sent to ihuntcloseofficial@gmail.com. Y'all are doing good because none of them has shown up on my Instagram feed or Instagram messages or to the phone or to Blake's phone or to Blake's Instagram. So doing a great job. Lots of photos coming in. Be looking for them. Lots of, I'm not going to go through I don't have a list of prizes we're going to give away, so I'm not even going to attempt it. Big shout out to the sponsors, Selway Archery, The Footed Shaft, Kifaru International, Backwoods Grind Coffee Company, and of course, Black Widow Bows. TBM, did a TBM episode, I think it was last week. If you're not a subscriber to TBM, jump over to their website, tradbow.com, and subscribe. Use the promo code TSC21, and he'll get you 7 issues for the price of 6. And you know what? We're not making anything on that. I do believe that magazine is worth supporting. They have great content. So, yeah, let it show up in your mailbox every other month. It's worth it. It's awesome. I think that's it. I'm going to make this short and sweet. Bryce Olson, you guys are going to get a kick out of this. I guarantee it. Or your money back. That's all I got. Have a great week. Roger out. Right on. Hey, Bryce Olson. How's it going, man?
Man, it's good. Lubbock, Texas, 84 degrees outside today. It's starting to get hot down here.
Oh, man. I've run into a lot of people now lately from Texas. So I have to really watch my P's and Q's. I just posted. Yes, I will. I just posted a photo from a submission from the I Hunt Close Trad Kill 2021. And the dude was from Texas. He had his bow up there with his quiver had engraved the Texas flag. So I put in there Texas pride. I got a lot of comments on it. Like, heck yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, us Texans, we like to brag about our state. And we got a lot of bow hunters down here.
Man, I was down there, I don't know, in January or February, and that's got country I didn't expect. You guys got a lot of varying terrain down there, shall we say?
Yeah, and depending on which part of the state you're in, you're going to get something totally different. You know, out here in the Panhandle where I'm at, it's real flat, full of cotton fields. You know, lots of dust, hardly ever rains. Then you get down in the hill country, you get a totally different terrain and, you know, water levels and greenery, and the east side of Texas is the same way.
Yeah. And I think what the comment was from the guy who I posted the photo of, I said, Texas pride. And he said, heck yeah, Texas is the greatest country in the world. So greatest country in the States or something like that. It was good. Yeah. It was good. It was awesome. So you grew up in Texas down there?
You know, I grew up in Oklahoma.
Oh.
And was born there, raised in Oklahoma, and I got out here in Texas in the mid-'90s, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah. Did you grow up in a hunting family?
No, you know, my dad's a veterinarian. And although I got into archery because of my dad, because he had a bow and he liked to shoot it, and he went on a couple of deer hunts. I don't think he ever shot one, but he did take me with him one time when I was just, I don't know, maybe I was 8 years old or 7 years old, not old at all. And, you know, I had my toy bow and he let me come, and I just thought that was the greatest thing ever. But what I remember most was he would go to the archery range there in our city. It was outside the city limits. And, you know, he'd shoot his bow with a couple of his friends, and I'd go along. We'd walk up close to the target so I could shoot. But he wasn't a real avid, lifelong archer. I can only remember him doing it for maybe it was a period of 5 years, could maybe 10, not any longer than that. But I got the bug, and so in grade school, I started making my own arrows and had a fiberglass bow and did lots of squirrels and rabbits and birds, frogs, did that kind of hunting. And then I developed a partnership with a buddy from school. We became very best friends, and we just grew up dreaming about being able to go hunt. It was about early 70s, 71 probably, when Bowhunter magazine came out, that we really thought we would go and hunt everything, just like in the magazines. We'd read those things from cover to cover, you know, Doug Kittredge, all of the old stories and the photographs. It was just so exciting. But we both bought Bear 76ers, nice. You know, in 1976, those things came out. Those were our 45-pound hunting bows, and we went deer hunting with them. That's when I shot my first deer. And in 1977, I graduated from high school, went off to college. From there, went into physical therapy school, and didn't pick a bow up from 1977 until 2007.
Wow.
You know, 30 years later.
Wow.
I was in a bookstore that had a magazine rack, and I saw some bow hunting magazines, and it struck me. I'd been started having kids with my wife in 1998, and we were done by 2005. And so this came around about 2007. I raced cars, I built racing chassis, I'd done all this other stuff, but I just got the bug again to go back into the wilderness sports, and bow hunting just kind of hit me then. So I picked up a used bow, and tried to shoot it. Couldn't hit anything. Wondered how I ever could shoot a bow in the past, because I sure couldn't do it then. But that made a challenge that made me say, I'm going to learn how to shoot this bow, because I used to could do it. And from there, I just kept getting more involved and meeting more people, and that's kind of how things got started for me. Again.
Yeah, back and way up, like you mentioned that one hunting trip your dad took you on, and it made such an impact. And as a parent, sometimes we kind of procrastinate, or like, well, maybe not this time. But just think that one trip planted a seed, and what a small trip it might be to a parent. You might say, oh, it was a great day, but a lifelong impact. I mean, I think we as parents should kind of keep that in mind.
It's a very important thing. And, we got to give back to our sport and invest in our kids, all youth. They need that. That's so important for them and for our sport.
No, I agree. So you are 5 animals away from the North American 29, and you started in 2007. I was talking to Blake today, my co-host there, and he's like, now what? Man, that's a lot of hunting. So you just flat making up for time.
Yeah, I've been blessed enough to do some years take 3 animals. I've had some years where I didn't take any, but that's really what it takes. If you're going to get it done, you got to do a lot of hunting, because if you just do 2 animals a year, 29 animals, you're about 15 years to get it done.
Yeah, that's yeah, and you can't do any missing.
yeah, and I do a lot of missing, so I've had to do repeat hunts. Those are no fun, but they're part of the story for sure.
Now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's 29. I've actually hunted 27 of them, but I still lack 5 because I wasn't able to succeed on all of those hunts.
Well, that's a pretty good track record. Now, first off, so what's your go-to setup as far as bow and arrow and broadheads?
What is so interesting about my setup is I've harvested these 25 or 24 animals with, I believe it's 9 different bows, wow. 7 recurves and 2 longbows, and I pretty much. I probably use 12 or 13 different broadheads. The arrow weights are usually always different. My sheep setups have been very similar, but I'd like to tinker with my arrow weight. I like a flat trajectory. Heavier animals are going to get a heavier arrow. So my arrow weights have varied between, just right over 415 grains all the way up to 590. So it really is dependent on the animal that I'm chasing. I'm going to tune my setup. Every single animal is going to get its own setup.
Now you just rattle off a couple of arrow weights. Now, what? Give me some context as far as bow weight.
Normally, I'm shooting about 50 to 55 pounds at my draw. I've had a few hunts where I might have been hitting closer to 60 pounds. But I'll tell you, when I first got into shooting these animals, my first one, I shot my whitetail, back in high school. And the next animal I harvested was the mountain lion. And I wasn't learning. I mean, I was learning. I didn't know a lot at that point, but I used a 60-pound bow with a 600 grain arrow to shoot a mountain lion that was 7 yards away. So, I wasn't really, very scientific at all at that point. I was reading stuff and listening to things and talking to people. And, I think at 10 grains per pound, I need to have 600 grains. But over time, I learned, I didn't have to shoot that heavy of an arrow. In fact, I've never shot anything with that heavy of an arrow since.
Really?
I've been close 590 for my, believe it was the brown bear, and about 575 for my bison. But normally, I'm going to try and stay between 500 and 550.
So just say the brown bear. You remember what broadhead you were using?
Yeah, I used a 2-blade, 125 grain Simmons. I'm not sure which shark it is, but it was a small one.
Yeah. And
I used a heavy shaft. I'm not a big FOC guy. I don't really ever even measure it. But I do bear shaft all my arrows. So I'll use point weight to make sure I've got a very nice, clean flying bear shaft. And that's usually what's going to determine the setup that I go with. Yeah. So,
how far a shot, how far a recovery on that bear?
That bear, died in sight. I shot it at 34 yards and I spined it with the first arrow. So it didn't even take one step. Interestingly enough, when I went back and I looked at some of my statistics before we talked, and out of the 25 animals taken, I've only had 5 animals that didn't drop within my sight.
That's incredible.
So I don't have a lot of blood trailing experience. I've got some, but thank God I've been blessed to see my animals fall within, time I loosed the arrow I watched them fall. That's been very, very nice.
That's incredible when you stop and think about it. Wow.
Yeah.
So are you generally a 2-blade guy then speaking?
I've used 2 blades, 3 blades, and 4 blades. I like a wider cut. The last animal that I shot, I used the iron wheel wide cut 200 grain 4 blade. It's a 2 blade with a bleeder.
Sure.
Prior to that, I was shooting 175 grain VPAs 2 bladed. I've shot several things with the Steel Force 250 grain single bevel broadhead. But the Thule elk I shot last year, and I followed that up with the Rocky Mountain elk, and I watched them both go down. But if I would have had to trail those animals, there wasn't any blood, and it was very any blood on the ground that you could find to follow them. I mean, I saw them go down, so I didn't need to. But that really bothered me because I thought, if I'm going on a sheep hunt, the desert sheep hunt, which is a very expensive hunt, it's a very nerve-wracking hunt because you're spending a lot of money to go shoot one animal that you don't want to lose that one. I thought, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot a 4-blade, and I really think that iron wheel, it performed so beautifully that I may just shoot that the rest of my animals just because I just loved it so much.
I gotta stop you right there, and you just need to tell the listeners that we didn't rehearse this. This is a straight up question because Iron Will is a big supporter of the show. We all shoot Iron Wills, and so I just so that everybody knows, this is completely off the cuff. It's not staged.
I wasn't aware that was the case.
So my experience with Iron Will, the first broadheads I shot were into real quality block target, right? And I probably shot that thing, I don't know, 10, 15 times. Well, let's just say 10 times. And it was just still so sharp. I cut myself twice with that broadhead. And it really, and people are probably going to hear from people about this, that we're talking about this, but it really struck me that the year that I didn't use iron wills, I was using Magnus Stinger, which I like. It's the same thing. I like exactly what you're talking about, a two blade with bleeders. You know, it's so easy to get razors shaving sharp, you know, and shave my arm with them. But it seems like a half a dozen times in and out of the quiver. So I get my tree stand for whitetail, pull it out of my quiver. It's on my bow. And then I go back in the quiver. You do that 6 times and I can't shave with it. And those iron wills, they just hold, that steel holds its edge for so long. That's what sold me. So like when you go into an entrance wound, you know, when it first enters, whatever you're hitting, even when it's coming out the other side, it's still shaving sharp. Whereas maybe the Stinger broadhead, you know, is not cutting as good on towards the exit side as it is the entrance side. So that's kind of what sold me.
You know, on my sheep hunt, I shot 4 arrows into the rocks.
Was that rock?
Same day.
Was that rock tag extra? Did you draw a rock tag?
I got my money's worth on those sets. But, you know, I gathered those arrows up. And after, and I wiped them off, cleaned them. I got home, and I'm looking at the broadheads that are now back in the package, and I'm like, you know, which ones were the ones that I shot into the rocks?
Are you kidding me?
I know the one that went through the scapula of the sheep, all the way through it, because it still had blood on it. The other ones, I mean, the edges they don't even look like they've ever been shot.
Really?
And that's one reason why I love those things, because I you know, if I don't have to sharpen my broadheads like I've had in the past, because I can have a very nice sharp broadhead, you know, in and out of the quiver, like you said. If I shoot it in the dirt and it's still got a great edge on it, that means a lot to me.
Yeah, we go round and round in good fun with Denny Sturgis and Brian Burkhart and Jim Eckhout. You know, those guys are all Bear Razorheads or Magnus. So it's all in good fun. Yeah, you just got to stay up on them. Like those Magnus, like I said, you can get them super, super sharp. They just, yeah. Well, I shot that. I shot an aoudad this winter, midwinter, and man, it at 40 yards broke through the heavy part of the scapula, not the upper part, but the heavy part down lower, through the heart, or clipped the heart, and then severed the offside leg. I mean, it was just horrible. It severed that bone. And she just piled up right there. It was just amazing.
Well, you know, when you got a broadhead that'll do the job, some of the other factors aren't so critical on this last sheep hunt. I took my 45-pound bow. Now, I've only shot my coos deer with a bow that light. But I went to Joel Turner's immersion clinic in January, and he really helped me with my shooting. I mean, it was just amazing what some coaching can do.
Was that down in Texas?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Tim's Ranch. It was a really good time, but I had to go back and shoot a 20-pound bow to get my form the way my form needed to be. Cause I was doing having some target panic issues where I was locking off target, jerking my bow arm to get the arrow to be where it needed to be at release. And anyway, they got me through that. But as I worked with my clicker and as I worked on my form, I never got myself back up to my normal bow hunting weight. But if you're very accurate with 45 pounds, and a very sharp broadhead, that means a lot.
Sure. And so, how did you learn to shoot, and how do you shoot today? When I say learn, I mean in 2007.
Yeah, I just did from memory how to put my fingers on the string and tried to aim. I did go to the Black Widow session that they did, and at that session, Fred Asbell was there, and I took back. The biggest takeaway from that was arrow tuning with Ken Beck. I mean, I learned how to tune arrows there, and my form was probably okay. It wasn't great, but the thing about that is I met Dennis Dunn there, and Dennis Dunn was the first guy to ever complete the Super Slam without a sight on his bow.
Yeah,
he's both a compound and a traditional shooter, but Dennis was at that Black Widow seminar, and he kind of introduced me to the excitement and the adventure of being able to hunt all these different animals.
Yeah.
Fast forward from there, he invited me on a bison hunt, and he invited me on a Coues deer hunt, and we went, with some other guys, went down to Mexico, went up to Pink Mountain in Canada, and of course, I didn't come away with an animal on either one of those hunts, but the camaraderie there was very valuable. And, you pick up stuff from just visiting with other bow hunters.
Sure. So are you an instinctive shooter or gap or? I'm a gap
shooter.
Yeah.
I use the tip of my arrow, and, I've always been that. It seems like the longer I shoot, sometimes it seems like the worse I do, but I will say that I feel probably like I'm on track better at this point than I ever have been in my whole shooting after Joel's course. And
nice.
Of course, Tom Klum was there, and he did his thing too. So I learned a lot from those guys.
We definitely encourage shooters to look at those pack courses that the push has, and Tom Klum, Joel Turner, all in there, and Rod Jenkins. I wished I had that 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah,
maybe 25 even.
I had the pleasure of meeting Rick Welch.
Oh yeah.
And Rick, he's a multi-time world champion, national champion. He's got all these titles. But I went and saw him fairly early on. I saw him before my 2009 muskox and polar bear hunt. I wanted to shoot better. I was shooting okay, but I wanted to shoot better. And I went out and spent a couple days with him. He taught me, a lot of good archery mechanics just in the form. Taught me how to put, the feather to my nose, and how to hold, and, not be in a hurry, and just have a good shot sequence. I still do some of the things that I learned from him today. But, the thing I remember about his course was, when you come to full draw and you've got your animal in sight, to hold and not just get in a rush and just let the arrow go.
Yeah.
And that was real important when I went on both those hunts, was having that fresh in my mind to not rush the shots.
Now he wrote a book. Was that about the time the book came out, or was that well after? I can't remember. Did he write it in the early 2000s or the mid? It could have been
Rick Welch. I don't know. I don't know if he wrote a book.
Maybe I'm thinking the wrong one. But yeah, I thought it was Rick Welch. Anyways, there was some good stuff in that book. I think it was him. But so let's see.
He's got videos out. He's got some real good videos out.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. What it was. So you got when you started, so Dennis kind of introduced you, this Dennis Dunn. And by the way, we did an episode with him, I don't know, maybe 6-8 months ago. He gets you the idea of doing the 29. Isn't it kind of daunting? Like, or did you just run into it head first? Like, I'm going to do this.
At the time, I thought, gosh, there hasn't been many people that have done it. It sounds incredibly exciting to be able to go to all those different parts of the North American continent and chase the animals. And I didn't realize at the time how big of a job it would be and how expensive it would be and how much time it would take.
Dennis lied to you?
I'm thinking, go on a hunt, you'll shoot the animal, and then you go on the next hunt. How hard is this? The naivety is definitely it can be a blessing when you don't know how stupid you are when you attempt something.
It's a gift. It's a gift. So what was your first one? Like when you set your mind to it, what was your first animal?
Well, first was the mountain lion.
Yeah.
And I went out to Utah and I was blessed. I shot that animal the first day of the hunt. And I'll tell you, I've had some fairly early success on some hunts, and then of course others I've managed to book them 3 times before I ever got one. But I did that in 2007, and then the following year I went out to Fred Eichler's place, Full Draw Outfitters. He runs a top-notch place, I'll tell you, and he's got a great camp. But I took my antelope with him. It took me two seasons to get the antelope, hunting over water holes. I think it's 5-day hunt. You're in that blind before dark, and you come out of the blind after dark, and it's over 100 degrees in that blind all day long. It's a tough hunt. But I finally got my antelope the second try. That year I also shot a Rocky Mountain elk with him, and then later that year I shot my mule deer with him. So, at the end of 2008, I was 4 animals plus the original whitetail. It was 5 animals in. I'm like, hey, 2008 and 5 animals. I mean, I don't have this thing done. What will I do then?
So how old were you when you killed the whitetail?
I believe, I was born in 59, so 75 would make me about 16, I think.
Wow. You should have. Did you maybe think like, yeah, I got my whitetail. I'm going to work on the North American 29, but I'm going to take a few years off.
Yeah. At 16, I really probably didn't even know there were that many other animals to hunt.
That's funny.
I really wasn't into girls back then. It was hunting, but shortly after high school, I forgot about the bows and arrows and started liking the 2-legged deer.
Well, yeah, there wasn't a lot of girls in Oklahoma when you were growing up, or what? It's not the way it worked when I was a kid.
My dad had me working so much that I didn't have time for a lot of that stuff. But when I got off to college, I had a lot more time and I had a lot more fun. I wasn't so interested in being in the woods, but thank God I came back to it.
Yeah. So what, you mentioned bison, and you had gone once and was unsuccessful in the Pink Mountains. Is that where you went to get your bison then when you finally did?
I did go back to Pink Mountain. I went with a different hunter, Sicanee River Outfitters, with Mike and Dixie Hammett. That hunt was night and day different. The first hunt was a hunt it was 35 degrees below zero. In fact, in Dennis's book, his book he wrote, he did a chapter, and I think the title of it is "The Day Hell Froze Over," and that was the hunt I was on.
Oh, really?
And he talks about how brutal it was, but there were bison around, but gosh, they're hunting a bison's like hunting a white-tailed deer. They are just so wary. They hear, they see, they smell, and they get out of the area if they know you're there. So they're tough animals. So when I went back the second time, it wasn't the cold, snowing climate. And I was able to hunt without any snow on the ground. Tom Miranda was in camp, and that was kind of fun to visit with Tom, because he has all kinds of hunting adventures. But I was the only traditional guy there. Everybody else was a compound. I mean, I think there were 6 or 7 guys in camp. Stay in an immaculate log cabin, and every day we'd go out into the area and look for the bison. But I was blessed on that hunt to take one at 31 yards with my gear, and I was shooting my Palmer bow. It was 55 pounds, 575 grain, single bevel Zwickey, and we had positioned behind an evergreen tree, and the herd was feeding towards us, and the bull that I was going to take was right there on the edge of the herd. And when he came by, just eating so slow, I pulled up my bow and I drew back, and I hear Rick Welch in my ear, hold, and I let it go, and the guy leans up and he goes, "Did you hit it?" And I'm looking at the buffalo, I think, but I don't know where the arrow is. And so we both were standing there, or crouched down, but we were looking at this buffalo. He didn't flinch. He didn't do nothing. He turned and took a step sideways. We saw the arrow hanging out of the other side.
Wow.
All but the fletchings had left him.
Wow.
I mean, it was just hanging out. He didn't even know he'd been hit. It was so incredible. And we watched him continue to feed along. And, it's happened to me more than once, but guides will say things at 60 yards. Shoot him again. I'm not going to shoot an animal at 60 yards. I can't even probably hit him at 60 yards. I said, dude, he's going to go down. I mean, let's just be patient. Let's let him go down. He went down. It was amazing to see a big animal like that go down with just one arrow. To this day, it's one of my favorite hunts.
Wow. That is so cool. Now going back to the 35 below, you were pretty green, right? Going into that hunt as far as hunting experience at that point.
Yeah, that was maybe 3 or 4 hunts into it.
I was just curious if you gave any thought to how your bow is going to perform at that temperature, right?
I'd already shot a polar bear at 40 below zero.
No, that was my next. So I was going to lead into that. Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't too worried after doing that polar bear and muskox hunt. I wasn't too worried about it. I didn't think it was going to be that cold, but no, the gear performed well in all those cold weather situations. I shoot Black Widow bows.
So you never gave it a thought. You just grabbed your bow and never gave it a thought. Now at 40 below, tell me, what your clothing is like, and your glove hand and all that.
So for the polar bear hunt, I shot a Black Widow bow, 56 pounds, PSA 3. I had 7 layers of clothing, and I had these gauntlet beaver fur on the inside, coyote fur on the outside, gauntlet mittens, and those covered my hands. The next layer was fleece gloves, and then I had a glove liner, and then I had hand warmers inside, to keep my hands warm. But the polar bear hunt is one of my most memorable hunts, because the polar bear charged our dog sled. The dogs never got turned loose, and the way the story happened was, we're bouncing around this dog sled, chasing a bear that we found. There was 2 bears. One of them was the sow, one of them was a boar, and they split. And so the guide that I'm with, we chased the boar. The other Eskimo Inuit, he chased the sow to keep the sow from going into the broken up ice that was froze. Because when bears get in there, you can't take the dog sleds in. It's too rough. We never saw him again. It was lightly snowing. You could only see 50 yards. He was gone. We never saw him again. So we're chasing the boar. And I'm pretty new into this. You know, I haven't hunted a lot. So, of course, around my neck, I have a movie camera. I have binoculars. And I have a rangefinder. And I'm bundled up with all of these clothes, a snowsuit, and coats, and, you know, base layers and layers on top of layers. And, you know, I can hardly move. And the bear stops, and the guide says, shoot. Well, I'm just trying to stand up, take my gloves off, get my bow out of the padded case, and before I can do anything, the bear takes off running again, and the guide is mad because I didn't get a shot.
I can sympathize with him.
Yeah.
Who's the tourist, man? Get that guy ready.
Yeah. This is supposed to be fun. So the little bit of time I had my gloves off, my mittens off, my hands had froze so bad that I could hardly even open and close them. I was like, holy crap, how am I going to shoot my bow if I can't even get my hands out long enough to, you know, to set up for a shot? Well, this bear runs, I don't know, another few minutes, 5 minutes or whatever it was. This time when he stops, I'm thinking I'm going to make it a lot faster this time. So the bear's off to my right. And I'm thinking I'm going to get off the sled, but I'm going to get off on the left side of the sled, put the sled between me and the bear, you know. He's 15 yards away. I'm looking over where I'm going to put my left foot to stand up and get off. And about that time, this bear roars. He roars so loud out in the middle of, you know, the Arctic when nothing's around. He sounds like a jet engine, like an airplane. And I whip my head back around and I look to see where he's at. And I guess you could still hear me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. He's charging the dog sled. And at that moment, I stand up and jerk my right foot, you know, free from the sled because it's caught on the cross members of the sled. I put an arrow in his front leg. I watch him reach down with his mouth and bite the arrow, pull it out of his leg, and he's coming into the dog team. So I pull the arrow out of my Selway quiver, arrow number 2. He's in the dogs. He's got a dog in his mouth. He's standing on his hind legs. He throws the dog. The dog goes to the end of the tether of the sled and then falls to the ground. And I think, well, there's one dead dog.
Dang.
So I shoot the second arrow. This time I drilled him really hard, right through the front of the chest, in his right chest, come out behind his left leg, front leg, and he's hit hard. But now he's coming after us. So the third arrow I pull out, I nail him right in the jugular of the neck. He's coming at us. And when I hit him, he went from a white bear to instantly a red bear. I mean, I've got photos of him. He is blood in an instant everywhere. He's running right at us. I pull out the next arrow and I'm looking at him and I look and I shoot exactly where I'm looking and I nail him right above his eye, sticks right in his head.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that arrow turned the bear away from us to go back out away from the dogs, and we watched him die. I shot him. He went out, he sat down, and when he sat down on his hind area, I shot him between the shoulder blades with the fifth arrow. And then he fell down, he died. But I was like, gosh, it happened so fast. My guide's like, you know, he's talking to me during the thing. He's like, at first he's like, not good hit, shoot again.
Thanks, Mr. Obvious.
But when I drilled him through the chest, and then when I hit him in the neck and he's bled, it was good. But he said he's mad, he's angry, he's coming. You know. Well, after the bear was down, he has a 22-250 rifle. The other guide had the big 458 or whatever it is they carry. And I'm like, I didn't know it was a little rifle. He points it up in the air. He goes, I'll call Caleb to tell him we're done. He puts his gun in the air. He pulls the trigger, and it just clicks. Nothing happens. And so we didn't have a gun. We didn't even know we didn't have a gun. He didn't know it either.
Well,
so it was a very dangerous hunt.
Well, first off, I liked when you said you're going to get the dog sled between the two of you, because it's a well-known fact that a polar bear will not cross a dog sled. So my hat's off to you.
I'm safe.
Heads up move, man.
Yeah.
But
you know, when I was standing there after it was all done, my right foot is starting to get cold. I looked down. I didn't have a boot on my right foot. It was still stuck under the sled.
Wow.
I'd pulled my foot right out of my boot when that bear charges. I didn't even know it until later. And I looked down, I'm in my stocking feet.
So how does the guy, even though he's got a gun that doesn't work, how do they not start shooting when that thing gets in the middle of the dogs? I mean, I'm surprised they held off.
You know, I'm surprised. I think he was. For all I knew, he'd already run off. I don't know where he was. He was behind me.
That's good. And then you know, you make a bad shot initially, but then you pull yourself together and start making some really good shots under pressure. You just run an automatic at that point.
Yeah, you know, totally automatic, totally off adrenaline, and you know, I mean. It happened so fast that I really never even got to the point where I was shaking and scared. It was more of a, oh, this is dangerous. Let's just do it.
Sure.
And it was until later that it really dawned on me how close that was.
You didn't hear Rick Welch in your ear saying, hold, hold, hold.
No, and I probably had bad form. Probably didn't get that feather on my nose. But, you know, the one thing I did is when I came back from that hunt, I commissioned an artist, and I had him make me a painting of a bear in the dog sled with me holding my bow about to shoot. And it's an heirloom now. I mean, I took that mental picture away from that hunt and preserved it on canvas. I really cherish that painting.
Oh, I'll bet. Does the picture of you have two boots on or just one?
Well, you know, I'm looking at it now. You can't really see my boots good enough because I'm behind that sled.
Oh, there you go. That's right. Heads up move.
Yeah.
I forgot. That's good stuff.
You know something? I wonder if I could do this. I want to just do this.
I would love to see it. Holy smokes, that is awesome. Holy smokes. I wonder, is there any way you can put that on, you know, can you take a picture of that with your phone that was good enough? Or man, that is fantastic.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did the dog that he got a hold of, did it die? He kill it?
It didn't. You know, I was surprised. They all got their big hunk of meat. They all ate it, and they all saddled back up. And when it was time, and pulled that sled right back to camp. It was, I guess he was just in shock. But yeah, he was lucky he didn't get killed.
You gotta wonder what the dogs are saying. Shoot.
You know, those dogs are so tough. They only feed them like every couple of days.
No kidding.
They're tough. You know, they sleep out there in that snow, and you know, some outfitters told, oh, those dogs are mean. Be careful. Those dogs, they love to be petted. I went up, I loved on them, petted them. I mean, they were just as friendly as they could be.
Working dogs.
Yeah,
that is quite a story. Now, I was going to ask you later, but I'll ask you now. Have you, and forgive me if you have, because I'm a knucklehead. Have you written many of these stories down? They've been TBM or anything?
Yeah, I have. I wrote a story for TBM on my brown bear hunt. That was like in the September 2015 edition.
Okay.
I've I've written other stories. I'm gonna be one of the Super Slam guys that actually does write a book. You know, Nathan hadn't done it yet. Fred hadn't done it yet. Rick hadn't done it. Probably by the time I get it, it'll be 5 other people already written one. But when I get it done eventually, I am going to write a book. And I've written my stories. I've put some of them on the leather wall. But I just, when you publish them in a book, they really have the rights to them.
Oh, in a magazine?
In a magazine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I when I found that out, I thought, well, I don't know if I want to do that. I shot an African lion before they shot Cecil, and Traditional Bowhunter magazine purchased the story, and we wrote it, sent all the pictures, and then Cecil happened. They didn't want to publish it.
Yeah,
but,
I get it.
The same way with my polar bear, I told them, hey, I don't see any polar bear stories in your magazine. Let's get one. And TJ said, we just have to be careful with what we put in there because there's so many anti-hunters, and they think that polar bears are extinct. There's more polar bears now than there ever was. I mean, it's just the crazy anti-science, non-facts that are floating around out there.
Yeah. Now, time frame you shot the polar bear, were you able to bring it back?
No, I wasn't. In fact,
that's too bad.
They recognized me at Pope and Young for that recording period. It was the skull was 1/8 inch smaller than Tom Miranda's. Tom took first, I took second in that period. They were able to get the skull measured, and they could only take pictures of it for the Pope and Young convention. But the bear's still there. It's at Robertson's Taxidermy. It's a full body mount. It's in their showroom, and it was a big bear, 9-foot bear, 9 foot 2 inches. So it was a nice bear.
Wow, that's you got your money's worth. That. And let me ask you this: how many arrows do you have in the quiver? You were on number 5. Tell me it was a 6-arrow quiver.
I tell you, 6-arrow quiver is great. Now I'll tell you, I love my Selway quivers. I've got Selway. I've got Great Northern. I've got Thunderhorn. But I made a friend that has a company called Gun-Shy Archery.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I'm familiar with him.
And he makes an 8-arrow quiver. So when I saw his 8-arrow quiver, I said, I've got to have one of those because I've run out of arrows a few times. So, but he makes a fantastic quiver, and that's what I have now.
Well, and I've got to stop you there because you mentioned Black Widow. Now you mentioned Selway. These guys are all sponsors of the show, and this is not rehearsed. So I just got to lay it out there. You and I talked for about 5 minutes on the phone.
To those companies, they're great companies, and the reason why I speak highly of them is because somebody else told me how good they were. Yeah. And I did the same thing. I said, hey, if it's good, I should have it. And it's good stuff.
Yep.
I mean, I really do encourage people.
Yeah. And they're
good equipment.
Yeah, and they're great people. Both companies, all the companies are and will, but Bill's a great guy. So yeah. Wow, I don't know how the heck you're going to top that polar bear story, but was your brown bear story anything close to that?
My brown bear story is phenomenal as well. That's the one that's in the Traditional Bowhunter magazine. That was the last day, the last hour of the hunt when I shot that bear. It was my second time to pursue brown bears.
Spring or fall? And
I was in it was in the spring. And so I had hunted brown bear once. I said spring, and it was fall, it was September. I'd hunted brown bear once and never saw a bear. It was so discouraging.
Where were you at?
But I was in Alaska again. If you saw Fred Eichler's YouTube video of the sow and the 2 cubs that charged him, that's where I was. I think Nathan actually shot a brown bear. I know he was on a hunt up there, same area, but I didn't have any luck. I went back to to Alaska though, and we had hunted. I'd seen bears about every day. Had one bear that we were setting an ambush up on alongside of the river, and we expected him to go walk right through a shooting lane. I was going to have a good close 10-yard shot, but instead of going right by us, he blew straight up at us. I don't think he knew we were there, but he came by me. I could have touched him with my bow. It scared us both about equally. We didn't know he was coming. He didn't know we were there. He just came out of the water at that time. But I was getting discouraged because we didn't have any other close shots at big bears. We'd seen a 10-foot bear up on the mountain, but we could never get close to him. So the last day it's raining, and we come out of our tent, and it slows down to sprinkle, and we're glassing, and my guide goes, "There's a bear. There's a bear." And he was a mile away, and he was leaving the water. He goes, "Let's go after it." And I'm like, dude, by the time, I have to tell my guide sometime the reality. And they always quickly tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, so I shut up.
No.
Say, too far away. I don't know. He's like, "Come on." So we got where we saw the bear, and the guide's plan was to stay there all day in the rain, freezing, waiting for him to come back. I didn't know that was the plan. So that's what we did that day. We waited all day. He said, "He'll come back." And I thought, this guy doesn't know what the bear's going to do. We're going to sit out here all day and freeze for nothing. But, it's my second brown bear hunt. It's the last day, and I'm kind of pissed because I don't want to do this again. So sure enough, he was exactly right. At the last hour, here comes this bear right back towards us. He's like, "Here he comes." Now, I get nervous when I have to watch the animal come for a long time. I mean, I'm already shaking because it's freezing out. And he comes, and he gets, he's outside of 30 yards, and he turns broadside, and he goes, "There's your shot, shooting." And I spined him, unfortunately, but he went down right there. So that was fortunate. Then I followed up with a nice lung shot, and that did it. I missed my third arrow. I hit him again with my fourth arrow. I missed my fifth arrow, but I did put my sixth arrow in him. I just unloaded the quiver on him. But he turned out to be a over 10-foot bear.
Damn.
And I've got some phenomenal pictures of him. His head's as big as it makes a propane tank look small.
Do you remember what his skull measured out at?
Yeah, he was 25 inch.
Nice.
He beautiful long claws. He's just an amazing bear. He had a broken ear. His teeth were all worn down. He was an old bear. He estimated him somewhere between 15 and 19 years. So I was very blessed to come across a nice brown bear like that.
Well, everybody throws out that 10-foot mark, That is tough to reach. There is not a lot of 10-footers. I'm not speaking for Kodiak. I don't know anything about Kodiak. But, I've known of outfitters that will throw, we're killing 10.5-foot bears. There's a way to skin them to make them 10.5 foot. I'm telling you, when you skin them legit, it is damn tough to make 10 foot.
Yeah. Well, he one of my favorite hunts was that brown bear because, I'll shoot whatever's legal, but when you get blessed by a super animal, it makes it that much more special.
Do you, what broadhead did you shoot there? Or maybe you told me it was always the Simmons.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the Simmons. Now the polar bear was the 4-blade Phantom by Muzzy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'd shot my muskox just prior to that, just a few days prior to the polar bear hunt. I shot a muskox, and I just used 2 blades of the Phantom because of that hair. I didn't want it to hang up, but on the polar bear, I shot with 4 blades. Yeah,
I'm a big proponent of I guess you'd say not 2 blades on bears, just because getting that extra flap open with those bleeders, I think, is important.
Yeah, well, I do too.
Well, we're talking about all the big game. What about Alaska? You've killed an Alaskan moose, right?
No, Alaskan moose is the one I'm going to do in September.
Where are you headed for that?
There's a Unit 9C. I couldn't tell you. My wife always laughs because unless I go and look, I can't. She asked me. I said, I don't know. I just have to go look at my papers. But I booked it with an outfitter up there, and I know the weather's bad. I know it's going to be one of those nasty hunts, but that's kind of what moose do. They hang out in those nasty places.
Do you what arrow shafts you shooting now?
I love to shoot Black Eagle arrows, and normally I'll shoot a micro diameter shaft. I like the X Impact.
Yep.
Or the
Deep Impact.
The other one what's the other one called? X Impact. And
is it Deep Impact?
Deep Impact.
Yeah. I shot
like
those.
both of those.
Yeah. I had a problem with the nocks. I was really discouraged with. I couldn't keep a knock in that, and then the knock ends were splitting on me. So I like those arrows, but maybe it's just me. I have some other friends that shoot them, but I'm shooting the Rampage now. I went back to a 204, and I like it. It's flying good.
Yeah, I've shot their Carnivores. I like that shaft too. But when I started out with my the first bow was just to see if I could shoot one. Was just an old Bear Grizzly, and I bought a Black Widow first. It was the first good bow I bought. Of course, it was used, and I shot my mountain lion, my mule deer, my Rocky Mountain elk, my antelope, all with the Black Widows. And I kept thinking, one of these days I'm going to go sheep hunting, and I wonder if there's a bow that will shoot better than this Black Widow. And unfortunately, I don't know if you're one of these guys like I am, but I just can never have enough bows. I've had over 124 different bows I've bought, shot, and either sold or held on to in a quest to find a bow that I thought could shoot a flat arrow for a long distance, potential sheep shot. And I love my Black Widow bows, but I've fallen in love with some other ones too. And so therefore I've kind of done that with arrows too, but I've settled in on Black Eagle micro diameter shaft arrows. Now it's just which bow am I going to shoot them?
Oh
with.
Yeah. How many pounds you figuring? 55?
For the moose, I'll probably be in between 53 and 56. So yeah.
Was that a cat?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big fan of cats.
We got 3 cats around here, and they don't get enough petting. They want to talk to you. Why are you talking to you? Not talking to me? They wonder.
So which sheep species do you have?
I've got desert sheep, stone sheep, Dow sheep, and I've hunted the bighorn, Rocky Mountain bighorn. Unfortunately, I spent a month up there. The snow never got deep enough to drive those bighorns down low enough for us to shoot them. I was in Canmore. One of those disappointing years that happens, I don't know, not very often, but it doesn't happen very often. You don't get enough snow to see the sheep. So never saw a legal ram the whole time I was on that hunt. So that was discouraging.
Well, I've been in Canmore. You weren't hurting for views. That's an unbelievable place. Oh my gosh.
What a beautiful place.
Yeah. Stone sheep, man. Those are probably my favorite species of sheep. Those are beautiful.
Yeah, I love the stone sheep hunt. It was a horseback hunt, and the day we got there, we were going to take our horses back into camp, and that I think it was a 6-hour ride. Normally, it took us 14 hours.
Ooh.
We were the
traffic.
there had been a huge windstorm that had blown down every tree across the trail.
Oh, yeah.
And so for 14 hours, they were jumping off their horses, chopping through trees and, getting their saws out. And we had to cut the trail again. It was a rough trip in there, I'll tell you.
Yeah, especially when you're not used to riding horses. That's a long day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. But, people always ask, my kids ask me, hey, Dad, which hunt was the funnest? I say, you know what? There are very few hunts I'll ever want to do again because they're not fun. They're a lot of work. They're tough. But when I think about that stone sheep hunt, people say, what was the dangerous hunt? Well, stone sheep,
Really?
mountain goat.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you have to cross a glacier chasing goats, and that if you start sliding on a glacier, there's nothing's going to stop you from sliding right off the end of it to your death. When I shot my stone sheep, it was a 19-yard shot, and I had to go out onto a finger of just mountain boulder to see the sheep. He was bedded. And, that's very nerve-wracking. When, 20 years ago, it wouldn't have bothered me as much. But, I look down now and I think, yeah, I actually could die.
Yeah.
Before I'd think, I'm not going to fall. Don't worry about it. But, those are dangerous. You can fall to your death when you gotta, get around, the side of a mountain that you're trying to make a stalk. I'm glad those are behind me because those hunts can really rattle you.
And that's when, for me, speaking personally, that's when my balance is the worst. When you're trying to be quiet, you're trying to be slow. You don't have, the momentum that everybody's used to dealing with. And then, I put a 1,000-foot drop on the side and it kind of eats on you. Then you got wind gusts.
Yeah. And if you're carrying your pack, you're off balanced. And, I did my stone sheep back to back against my mountain goat.
Wow. That's endurance, man. That takes a lot of mental and physical endurance.
It was really tough. The stone sheep hunt just really got me sore and tired enough so that when I did my mountain goat, it was just purely craziness. I lost both the toenails off my big toes. My
just from
blisters all over my feet.
Yeah,
it was brutal.
What kind of boots you wear?
Kind of like bows. Got a different pair for every hunt. I like Kenetrek boots.
Mm-hmm.
I've used Loas. On my brown bear hunt, I used a boot that's called a Koflak boot, which is a plastic boot.
Yep.
With glacier socks, you put your feet in these waterproof socks that go up to your waist, and you just roll them down so that when it's time to cross any water, you can just unroll them and pull them right up.
Oh yeah, what are they called?
Koflak.
Oh, be dang.
Koflak boots. Yeah, they're a mountaineering boot, but I like a good leather boot that's real supportive for side healing, and Kenetreks have really been probably my go-to boot of all of them.
Yeah, back when I was guiding, boots weren't a real there was no technology in boots then, and was it Danner was the big thing, and we would side hill for weeks. You just want to walk backwards once in a while, just like because you're so friggin' tired of your ankles rolling. Oh gosh,
I know it.
Oh man,
yeah. And when I was my first daughter was born in '98. We had a motorhome and we took a trip. And in the middle of the night, you get tired with a motorhome. You just go in the back and lay down and go to sleep. Well, stupid me, I'm in the back sleeping and I'm dreaming that the motorhome is going down the highway and I'm not up there driving. So I wake up and I run from the back of the motorhome to the driver's seat. And in the way is the baby car seat. Kicked that like a football when I was running down the hallway. So I broke my big toe joint, and I've got arthritis in it. So that makes wearing those boots, it gets really sore. But that's just one of those things you have to deal with as you get older and you're trying to do all these things. You can't give in to some of these aches and pains, because they're going to definitely be there and want to slow you down.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So if there was one hunt that you had to do over again because you had to do it and you enjoyed it so much, what would it be?
Between the grizzly hunt where you're hunting on a boat, I had my wife with me. We had crab. We had the most amazing food every night, sleeping on that boat and going out together. She was hunting black bear and I was hunting grizzly. There was hot springs in British Columbia. So we got to go spend some time in the hot springs, that was like a honeymoon hunt, and it was really fun, and I really enjoyed that. But then I went with 5 Arrow Outfitters. By the way, that was a Bo and Lewis hunt. They don't do grizzly hunts in BC anymore. It was the last year they did them. But Tina Marie and Jim with Arrow 5 Outfitters have a wonderful blacktail hunt in California. And they put you in a tent camp, and the hunting's great, the food's great, and my wife and I have been on several of those hunts. I'd say the favorite hunt between that grizzly hunt and the blacktail hunt. We've done elk hunts and Canadian moose hunts, Roosevelt elk hunts, but I don't know, that blacktail hunt with the Arrow 5 Outfitters probably be one I'd like to do again.
Yeah. Now your wife hunts. That's super cool.
Oh yeah, she's a beast too, and I tell you, it's so embarrassing. She can not shoot her bow for 2-3 months and go out in the backyard and just like she never skipped a day.
A stick bow or a compound?
A stick bow.
Are you really?
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah, she shoots a Dakota longbow, 45-pound longbow, 64-inch, and she's just one of those naturals. It just kind of makes you mad. They just shoot so good. And I have to practice every day. She says, you shoot too much. You practice too much. If I don't practice this much and I miss, I'm really going to feel bad if I practice even less. I got to practice all I can, though.
That's awesome. So what's she killed? Is she killed any? Did she kill black bear on that one?
Oh, yes. She's killed black-tailed deer. She's killed white-tailed deer. She's killed black bear. We haven't connected together on elk or on moose, but we've hunted them together. She actually shot her black bear the same day I shot my grizzly bear. That was pretty special.
Holy smokes, that is.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Is she going to work on her 29?
I'm not going to encourage her at all. She has what she calls the Jackie 29, which is, hogs and
there you go.
Different things. And, that's not so bad. But when you pay for your hunt plus your wife's hunt, it's very expensive, I'll tell you.
Jumping around here now, you hit all our other sponsors. What kind of backpack? If you say Kifaru, everybody's going to think this is a loaded interview. Well, so please don't say Kifaru.
After listening to Aaron, I should own one, because I honestly don't own one. But the Kuyu guys,
mm-hmm.
I have one of their packs, and when I did when I've done my backpack hunts between Mystery Ranch, which I gravitated away from and went with Kuyu, I'm pretty much hoping that I'm not going to have to do too many more backpack hunts. I went to the doctor last week because my hips have been bothering me. I've had 2 back surgeries, and I was thinking, dang, I hope my back isn't giving me this hip pain. And I went in there and he said, well, yeah, we can fix it. We just have to put brand new hip joints on both hips. I said, oh no, I've got a moose hunt coming up in September. I think I'll just have to deal with the pain. But between my mountain caribou, which I've got left, my Canadian moose, my Yukon moose, Rocky Mountain bighorn, and Roosevelt elk, if I do need to buy another pack, I've listened and looked at the Kifaru stuff so much that I'm very intrigued to know what they're like and to have one, because I've read and heard so much good stuff about them. But
yeah,
I don't own one.
Yeah. So tell me, you've immersed yourself in 13, 14 years since 2007 in this. Tell me what organizations do you belong to? I mean, I consider you fairly new to the game, but you are like going 110 miles an hour here in the bow hunting world. What's grabbing your eye?
I'm a big supporter of Compton's. I'm a life member of Compton's. I'm a big supporter of Pope and Young. I also am, PBS. I just think we've got to support our state organizations. I'm also a Colorado Traditional Bow Hunter Association member, just because I like to go to their hunt. I mean, their 3D shoots. But, the Texas or whatever state you're in, I think it's important that you support your state organizations and national organizations. Same way with SCI. I mean, these guys are keeping our rights to hunt and keeping the habitat there for our animals to continue to survive and thrive in. I think if everybody could support those, it would sure be great for our sport. And I really do support those organizations.
I've had my ear to the ground for a long time. What's going on in the country and in sports and in bow hunting. And I don't ever remember a year like this past one. And maybe it's because the podcast, people are reaching out like, hey, this is going on. But I was totally burned out by about March or April. California, Michigan, Tennessee, Montana. It was one after another, whether it was an attack on equipment in our seasons or attack on management practices. It was just overwhelming. And I was talking to the guys in Montana just a couple weeks ago at the Western States Rendezvous, and they had a heck of a battle on their hands this year with the crossbow. And they're a very active group. I mean, that Montana group, not just traditional bow hunters, but MBA, Montana bow hunters, and they just have a rich history of being active sportsmen. And they're going to try to take the offensive this year. And I'm going to have them on the podcast and talk about what they're going to do. But what you're saying, I believe wholeheartedly, because you named some organizations there that I don't agree with 100%. There's issues that I disagree with them, but the overall, in the grand scheme of things, it's small potatoes. What I disagree with them is small in comparison to, protecting what we have, and game management is, I wouldn't say at the forefront. Yeah, it is at the forefront. I mean, when you get attacks on, certain practices, which would be just, hamstringing game managers. That's super important for us to stick together for sure.
Well, Colorado's wanting to reintroduce wolves back into the state.
Yeah.
What idiots are running that organization? They're supposed to be fish and wildlife experts. They don't understand, or they don't care, or they're bowing to the greenies to let wolves come back in. It's going to ruin the deer and elk and sheep, numbers. The herds are going to go down, and that affects the livelihood of livestock, ranchers, taxidermists, hotel and restaurant, all the small town people that have viability because of hunters. It's going to hurt them. And I just don't understand, the same way in Alberta, why they want the length of a bighorn sheep to determine whether it is legal to shoot. I mean, how stupid are they? I mean, as these sheep get older, they broom their horns down. You should go by the age of the sheep, not the length of the horn. I mean, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we've got to keep fighting, because otherwise they'll take it away from us.
Well, I don't know how you go on the offense, but at least having an organized defense rather than wait for, take California, for instance, just pops in my head first is doing away with bear hunting. So then everybody's scrambling to, we got to write this guy. We got to write this guy. We got to write this guy. And it would be so beneficial. And I learned a lot this year, but to have a machine in place when something stupid comes down the pipe, to be able to mobilize. It gets tiresome to, get punched in the mouth and then make a plan, right?
Yeah.
you want to have a plan before you get punched in the mouth.
I'm not a gun owner, but I'm a life member of the NRA, because those guys are so well connected, politically, and they fight for us. So, I mean, I'm another big proponent of the NRA.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you rattled off some important ones there, for sure, man. I wasn't sure how this was going to go, to be honest with you. Being you started in 2007, I'm like, well, how's this? Because usually you talk to guys that have been doing this whole life and the story develops, but holy smokes, you have packed in some serious excitement in 14 years, man.
Yeah. It's fun to recall the stories. I mean, I didn't tell you about my woodland caribou hunt where I broke my left arm the first day of the hunt. I fell down on some ice.
Tell me you're a right-handed shooter.
I'm a right-handed shooter. And, I said, well, shoot, now I can't straighten my arm out, and it hurts like heck to even raise it, but it's the first day of the hunt. So my guy, I didn't say anything to my guide. My guy's like, okay, let's go. And so I'd fallen on some ice outside of camp. I mean, outside of where I slept, and we hadn't headed out in the truck to go drive where we were going to go look for caribou. But my arm was just aching. We found some caribou, and we started the hike there. I'm carrying a bow in my right arm because I can't straighten out my left arm. It's hurting and throbbing. Well, we got set up on the caribou, long story short. By the end of the afternoon, I did get an arrow in it. But, I mean, I raised that arm and just gritted my teeth and pulled that bow back and shot it. And the caribou, it was a fatal shot. He ran to the water, and of course he wanted to swim across the lake. I had to go shoot another arrow in him. But, that was one tough hunt, I'll tell you. And I was going to do a combination hunt. And when I'd called Barbara to say, hey, Barbara, I wanted to have two tags. I wanted to have a caribou tag and a Canadian moose. And she said, well, let's see how your caribou hunt goes first, and then we'll decide if we want to get you a moose tag, which at the time I was like, well, crap. Well, after I broke my arms, I'm glad I didn't buy that moose tag.
I'm going to write a little note to myself down. If I ever book a hunt and I ask who else is in camp, and they say Bryce Olson, I'm not going to go on that hunt. I got to be honest with you. Maybe we'll have a beer sometime, but I'm not hunting with you, bro.
Yeah. The time I went on my Cyrus moose hunt, first day in camp, he said, well, if you want to practice a few shots, we're going to go out early in the morning. I said, okay. So I pulled my bow out. The only time I didn't take two bows on a hunt. The only time. I've never taken a backup bow. There I am. Pull back my bow and break the top limb. It delaminates.
Oh.
And he's like, oh, dude, do you have a second bow? Knowing I'm going to say, yeah. I said, no, dude, I didn't bring one. So we went back into town and found a very old gentleman who was an avid archer, but he didn't shoot anymore. And we went into his barn and we found an old redwood longbow.
Are you kidding me?
And he said, if you want to use this bow, you can. It was 55 pounds. It was 66 inches, and I wasn't sure the string was going to make it through very many shots. I couldn't hit nothing with it. And luckily, I mean, I only had like 12 arrows. And so I'm shooting every chance. My guide says, you shoot, I'll glass. You just practice. So, you know, out there, everything, there's rocks. You can't even shoot the dirt because there's rocks in it. I'm breaking my arrows. I can't hit anything with this bow. Finally, I'm finally figuring out, you know, how I have to aim it. And I mean, I was blessed. I had that moose come in 20 yards and I drilled it, and he died in 75 yards. We watched him just go out and fall down. My guide could not believe it. I couldn't either.
Did you bring the bow back to the old guy and say, thanks,
you know,
man?
He wouldn't let me buy it from him. He said, I'm sorry, Bryce, that was a gift, and I just can't sell it. And I said, well, why don't you at least take it out of your barn and put it in your house or something? But he was so proud. He took pictures with the skull and the horns. And, you know, I thought is maybe long enough. Maybe he'll want to part with it. I need to call him. I've kept in touch with him a few times since then, just because I've kept all my bows I've shot one of my big game animals with, but I don't have that one.
That's incredible. That is Did we miss anything else that you've written down or anything?
You know, that probably, I think we probably got most everything. I mean, I've learned some things. You know, when you go on these hunts, you got to take an extra pair of glasses. When I was on my Dow sheep hunt, put my glasses on the ground to glass with my binoculars, and I see so well without my glasses. Sometimes I don't even remember to put them back on. Well, I didn't remember to pick them back up, and we got off of that mountain somewhere when I realized I don't have my glasses anymore. Which, you know, I can shoot okay, but you know, I just shoot better with my glasses. You know, because 25 yards out there, so you know it's hard to pick a spot as clear as when you have your glasses on. But you know, you got to have extra glasses. I've lost my finger glove in the past and learned you got to carry an extra glove. You have to carry an extra bow. There's these things you learn along the way. But
well, here's the topic I want to hit with it. First off, I need to ask you what part of the arm did you break? Like,
I broke the radial head. If you you know, when you turn your palm so that your thumb faces the ceiling, out here on the side of your elbow, there's a rotating feeling when you rotate your wrist, and that's what I fell on, and that's what I broke. So it wasn't a major weight bearing part of my skeletal system, but it still hurt to rotate my forearm to grab the bow. It hurt to straighten it out.
Dang.
So
wow. Tell us what have you learned? Because obviously you've gone on a ton of guided hunts. Tell us about hiring an outfitter. Tell us about relationship and working with a guide, because man, that can make or break a hunt, whether or not you're clicking with a guide.
You know, Bow Hunting Safari Consultants is an organization that I highly recommend people, you know, use, because they work with outfitters that are used to bow hunters, and they have all hunted at the camps where they're going to recommend that you go. So, you know, every outfitter may have a guide or two that just doesn't last very long because they're just not the right people. But I'll tell you, when I look at all my hunts I booked through Bow Hunting Safari Consultants, and I match them against all the hunts that I didn't use Bow Hunting Safari Consultants, the ones that I didn't use Bow Hunting Safari Consultants have just turned out mostly to not be good hunts. They're not used to bow hunters, especially traditional bow hunters, and you know they don't seem to really care if they make you mad or not. I mean, I've just had some bad experiences that I've said I'm just not going to book a hunt unless I go through Bow Hunting Safari Consultants, or I know somebody that's hunted there that has given them a very good recommendation.
Yeah. That's solid. That's solid advice. I worked in the guide industry for a little bit, and sometimes you get hunters with good when a hunter shows up, and generally they do. You have a good attitude, you click, you're in this together. Sometimes you get a hunter that comes out and, man, it's a grind for 10 days and they're not happy from day one. And I'm going to say this with a grin in case the listeners can't see me, but like when a client knows more than you do and you've been guiding there for several years. And
Or, I learned something early on. A guide told me one time, he said, when I have a smart ass client, we just hike a lot more. And I listened to that.
Guilty.
And so I learned, don't be a smart ass, because you might be hiking a whole lot more than what you really need to be.
Well, I've got to back up and walk back what I just said, because I had hunters that taught me a lot. So when I started guiding at a higher level, I was hunting with hunters that were better than me. So keeping an open mind and line of communication, guides can really pick up a lot from hunters too. It's I don't want to sound like, guides know everything, because you, like a guy like you've got experience, all these different experiences, where somebody that maybe just guides elk hunts, they're only as good as anybody that's taught them, or their narrow lane of experience, where a guy like you has been around and seen a few things.
The thing that I think people might not realize is although I've hunted a lot of different species and been on a lot of different hunts, some information doesn't translate to the next hunt, but some information is good no matter what hunt it is.
Sure.
How to stay warm.
Yeah.
How to move quietly, how to bring your emotions down when the animal is closing in and you're starting to get overtaken by adrenaline.
Yeah.
Those are things that can really be helpful. But I listen to these guys that hunt whitetail and elk every year, and they just sound so incredible. I mean, I think, gosh, I don't know nothing compared to these guys. I mean, their woodsmanship is just phenomenal, which, there's not a lot of woodsmanship out there among some people, and that's a lost art.
Yeah. Yeah, or when your guide is standing behind you saying "shoot, shoot, 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 shoot." Yeah, that one's for my friend Aaron Snyder right there. Shoot, shoot. That helps. That's wicked helpful.
Oh yeah,
that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, hey man, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Had a blast. You had some great stories. Look forward to that book when you get your last 5.
Yeah, buddy, I'll be looking forward to rejoining you at some point and maybe sharing a few more stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good luck this season. What do you got on tap this year?
Well, I'm going to do the Yukon moose hunt in September. I was supposed to go across the border to Canada to do a that should be the 4th try for my Canadian moose, but that doesn't look like that's going to happen. So, it may just be a Canadian moose the rest of this year, and I mean a Yukon moose the rest of this year, and that may be it. So the rest of the species, except I could do Roosevelt in the lower 48, but they're so booked up now. That would be my 4th attempt on the Roosevelt as well. So everything else is going to be Canada.
Yeah, it seems like you really got the big ones, a lot of the big ones out of the way.
Yeah, I think sometimes, those sheep are really tough. Polar bear's tough. The grizzly's tough. The brown bear's tough. I mean, of course, I've still got one more sheep, and right now they all seem hard. That mountain caribou one seems kind of scary too. But
mountain caribou, those are my favorite of the caribou species. Those are cool, and the ground they inhabit is cool. Yeah. So. Hey, we got to stay in touch. Like I said, really enjoyed the chat, and looking forward to hearing about your next adventure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the invite, and thank you for all your listeners. And hey, the sponsors, you got some good sponsors.
Yeah. I'm learning. Yeah. So, do you drink Backwoods ground coffee? We got to cover that one. So
you know what? I do not drink coffee, period.
Oh, well,
I am a hot chocolate dude.
That's the key to your success then, hot chocolate.
Yeah, it's either water or tea or orange juice, I never have got a taste for coffee, but anyway.
Well, we'll get you in a Kifaru pack, and
Hey, it sounds good.
You'll be a regular on the show.
Okay. All right, Rob.
Oh man, appreciate it. You have a good luck this year, and have a great evening.
Yeah, and you too, man. Thank you.
All right.